Hello everybody and welcome to another Total Gaming Network and CS Nation presentation. I'm Zips and today we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to a lot of your hearts. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, specifically the single player component. Part 2 will focus on the multiplayer, but we'll get to that later. Yes, the latest annual release in the Call of Duty franchise just came out and gamers everywhere are clamoring over the game, buying it in droves and getting to work on the quote-unquote conclusion of the Modern Warfare story that began roughly 5 years ago. You play through as the usual cast of characters, oftentimes as a third-party outsider to give you more of a view of the relationship dynamics of series stars Price and Soap as you all battle your way to stop the terrorist threat in the invading Russian army. If you've played through the previous games in the series, you already know what to expect when it comes to the story. High points, low points, confusing points, plot twists, etc. You name it, this game has it, and while it attempts to tie together the loose ends from the previous two games, it does so in a very convoluted and muddled fashion. Story is primarily told through pre-level overviews of what is going on, where it's going on, and what you have to do to stop what's going on. They're either told by way of a lifeless operator narrator that lays out the US-oriented levels, or by way of a quick dialogue and more rudimentary visuals with the level focus on Price and Soap.
Eyewitnesses are now reporting Russian tanks rolling down the Champs-Élysées.
This was no act of terrorism. The attacks were intended to cripple our defenses and pave the way for an invasion. We need to hit them now with everything we've got.
Beyond that, the story's just run-of-the-mill Modern Warfare-esque style. You shoot some guys, receive some exposition, and then move on to the next area where you shoot some more dudes. Even after 3 games with most of the same cast, you never grow emotionally attached to any of the characters, and ultimately, you really don't care what happens to them. If your main character happens to get shot, injured, or dies, why should you care when you've seen hundreds, if not thousands of other soldiers and civilians die before your very eyes? The game plays out as though you were walking through the set of the latest Michael Bay film. Explosions aplenty, over-the-top animations, set pieces that either have giant structures falling down, blowing up, catching fire, or doing some other zany action film staple. In fact, it isn't the tired gameplay that serves as a standout for Modern Warfare 3, it's the scripted sequences that you, as the player, have absolutely no control over that really stand out as the most memorable sequences in the game. However, even those are often rehashes of scenes from earlier games, including sequences where you pilot a vehicle, which we've already seen in the form of a snowmobile sequence in earlier titles, only redone this time as a motorboat sequence in 3. Ooh. Or perhaps there's a sequence where you're flying as a passenger in a helicopter towards your next big battle, only to look out and see other helicopters get shot down before your eyes. Those can get tiresome and evoke a sense of extreme deja vu. But for the new set pieces, such as massive structures blowing up or trains derailing before your eyes, you often sit back and go, whoa, that was pretty cool. It's just a shame though that all the fancy set pieces in the world do not make for an engaging single player experience. The AI goes from one extreme to the other. They're either pinpoint accurate with their shooting when all you can see is their head popping out from cover, or they mindlessly run right at you with guns blazing, passing up even your largely idiotic AI teammates. Once more, your teammates leave roughly 95% of the killing to you, the player. For being highly trained killing machines, you would think that your teammates had never seen, let alone held, a weapon in their life after witnessing them miss shot after shot on very visible enemies. On a positive note, however, is the fact that the guns feel powerful, and perhaps this is merely a bit of a placebo effect. The hit detection feels a lot more spot on than in previous releases in this series. The weapon audio has also been given a bit of a bump in the bass, and weapons sound more beefy than previous versions at the sacrifice of realistic audio. Throughout the campaign, you'll be able to pick up any weapons you find, typically rolling with 2 primary guns, grenades, secondary grenades, and oftentimes a special piece of equipment. Visually, the game does a decent job at not looking like it's a heavily modified Quake 3 engine, even though that is precisely what it is. Lighting looks like it's made fairly significant leaps from previous titles in the series, and since it's running on such an old engine, most machines out there should have no problem running the game at rather high visual settings with little to no frame rate drops. Weapon models and design, even with however many extraneous attachments they have on them, do look quite good. Now, that is good. The bad comes from the fact that the game is running on a heavily modified Quake 3 engine. Physics are wonky, the canned death animations from previous games make a return, for better or worse, and the run animations still look as horrid and fairly unnatural as ever. Textures are rather low resolution, though whether or not this is a result of the game engine itself or just a design decision from the developers remains to be seen. In the end, Modern Warfare 3 is exactly like its predecessors. There's expected plot twists, tired and generic gameplay that's livened up by the all-too-rare set-piece sequence, are just compounded by the horrendous AI and rather muddled story elements. There have been far too many times in playing this that I just did not even care to continue on with the gameplay and preferred to switch difficulty to easy, just to see the end of this trilogy. And, to be perfectly frank, they're just milking this series now. Not necessarily the Call of Duty titles, but the Modern Warfare line itself. It should have just been wrapped up in Modern Warfare 2, but with how much of a cash cow this franchise has been, it was really no surprise when everyone found out that there would be a Modern Warfare 3 release. And chances are, there will be some allusion at the end of Modern Warfare 3 that points to there possibly being a Modern Warfare 4. I honestly long for the days now where Treyarch releases a new Call of Duty game, because at least they try to do things a little bit differently. But with 9.3 million copies of Modern Warfare 3 sold in the first 24 hours alone, it's probably a safe bet there will be Modern Warfare 4, or at least a different Call of Duty spin-off series with many of the same characters from Modern Warfare returning. As you noticed, this is part 1 of 2 planned videos for Modern Warfare 3. Part 2 should be going up within a day or two, and will focus on the game's multiplayer component, the side of the game the majority of players will probably care about the most. However, speaking solely on the single-player component, the game fails on a number of aspects, and is at best only about a 4 or 5 out of 10. It would have been a great game were it released half a decade ago, but with the current generations of shooters out there, players have many better options that have actually managed to keep up with the times in terms of gameplay advances, visuals, innovation, and AI. With all this said, we will catch you next time, where we will examine Modern Warfare 3's competitive multiplayer, the new survival mode, and the return of Spec Ops missions. This has been Zips with another Total Gaming Network and CS Nation video presentation.